Acolytes. Apparently, Ubisoft fanboys suggest placing a hit on Asmongold. This man will have 15 hits placed on him before this year ends if it continues to go this way. So let's just hear what Ref has to say about, because this is just, oh my freaking, this,
Hey, what's
because
up
of a
here?
game.
So another day and another video about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Would you look at that? Well, we're talking about this game once again today because there's been some
The gift that keeps on giving. In a good way.
insane reactions from Ubisoft shills and journalists regarding this game.
Yeah, fair enough.
We've seen pretty much the 5 stages of grief with this game already. We're reaching kind of a step 6, which is just pure insanity, where we're seeing people reacting to a viral TikTok, trying to pool together their resources to put a hit out on Asmongold for basically saying this game is a 6 out of 10. That's it. They're absolutely fuming, and we're going to look at that particular TikTok uploaded by another content creator in the gaming space because I think it is an absolutely ridiculous video.
So first Twitch, now TikTok. Or was the other girl that actually wanted to place one on him also on TikTok? I don't remember correctly. If somebody could correct me, it would be nice.
But first, like I said, we're going through these stages of grief with this game. The other day, yesterday, when we looked at...
Wait, sorry about that. What am I saying? Acolytes, your overlord demands that you correct me in the comments if I am wrong.
Some of the articles coming out from journalists, we were seeing this sort of bargaining position they're in, right? They're trying to say Assassin's Creed Shadows is this huge hit game, and it's going to be the series' most successful game yet, while using that 2 million players lingo that's trying to distract you from the fact that's not copies or units. But today we're seeing some journalists switching up. I guess we're at the acceptance phase. Okay, we jumped the fourth stage. We're on the 5th stage. Assassin's Creed Shadows isn't doing as well as Valhalla, but that's okay. Yes, they're pretty much accepting that it won't be as good as Valhalla. It won't be the greatest Assassin's Creed game ever, which is obvious. The comparisons we saw yesterday to Valhalla were ridiculous. It's nowhere near the numbers of Valhalla. I think it was just a ton of cope. But here we are at the acceptance phase. Now, what's going on with Assassin's Creed Shadows itself? Well, it's sitting at about 37,000 in-game players right now, which is a pretty quick drop-off.
Yeah, there's a drop-off, but the reviews got more positive. That's surprising to me. Well, fair enough, I guess.
And as you see from the chart here, it's been going pretty bad. So they've already reached their peak for today, which is nearly 25,000 players shorter than its all-time concurrent from 2 days ago, and it seems like this game has definitely plateaued, and it's only getting worse and worse. Now, yesterday we looked at some comparisons to the meme game Yasuke Simulator. Of course, that's more of a joke in terms of the attention it's getting, but today we have one that's a lot more serious. This is hilarious right here. So here's the trending tab on SteamDB. Number 1 right now is a game called Schedule 1, and it's absolutely destroying Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Damn. That's why they didn't show it. Oh, they have Northold. Oh, Northold. I really hope it will do well. Northold is I played the demo. I hope wait. Give me a second. Acolyte's here, over my head. The demo was so good. It's a tower defense, basically.
In the first 48 hours of its release. You can see the player numbers here destroying Assassin's Creed Shadows. And if you look at the game right now, 115,000 in-game players. I know Schedule 1 is very addicting, but these numbers are very impressive.
I don't even know
also
that
to
one.
add some irony to this, the game costs around $17, which is very similar to the price of a Ubisoft Plus subscription, which is where I would gather most players are accessing Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Yeah,
so this is a very funny comparison point. But let's talk about the main theme of this video, and it's these threats against Asmongold. So you can see here, TikTok is not happy with Asmongold's Assassin's Creed Shadows takes. You can see the top comment saying it's quite possible the primary source of all the toxicity in gaming nowadays. We ought to do something about Asmongold. Are you suggesting we pool money and make a hit? Yes. Yep, this is over a video game, ladies and gentlemen. Now, where is all this negative attention coming from? Well, it's
Of
this
course.
TikTok uploaded by a content creator named Jacob Weeby.
Give me a second. I seen his face. I think he's a pretty big shill.
So he made this viral TikTok going after Asmongold. I mean, he has the description here with Asmongold. He's basically portraying a characterization of what an Asmongold fan thinks, and obviously he's trying to make that as a reflection of Asmongold, and people are absolutely supporting the hell out of this on TikTok, and like I just showed, even getting violent in reaction to this. So in this video itself, there's going to be a very common theme. Basically, if you want to play a game, take a shot every time this guy does a false equivalency, okay? That's all he really has. He's creating this shadow box of an argument here. He has the shadow box arguments that didn't happen.
for F's sake,
and let's just
really.
give this a quick watch.
Well, yes, of course.
Ew,
Yeah.
are you playing Assassin's Creed 3?
Yeah?
This game is an insult to the history of the American Revolution by not making the main character English. This is just more woke DEI garbage being pushed down our throats.
Okay, so right off the bat, a false equivalency by comparing Assassin's Creed Shadows to Assassin's Creed 3. And of course, he's comparing the protagonists Yasuke and Connor, okay? Which is a ridiculous one. Comparing Yasuke, an African in feudal Japan, to Connor, a Native American in a game that centers around the American Revolution is a very disingenuous comparison.
I mean, Rev, give him some slack. He literally has no other point than this one. This guy won't make a better point than the one that he already made. I mean, for F's sake, No, fuck him.
And that's obvious. There were millions of Native Americans in and around the colonies during the American Revolution. I mean, that's not something that's uncommon to know. And
correctly.
in this case, with the American Revolution, Native Americans were either going to be directly impacted by the fighting of the war itself, and they were going to be impacted by the results of this, because it would be basically for them what kind of personal stakes they want to have in colonialism or in a revolution. And of course, that resulted in some Native Americans going with the British and some going with the revolutionaries. That was history, okay?
Yes.
So it's not really that surprising. I think it's actually a unique perspective to have a character like Connor, which, by the way, everyone really liked. A lot of people who criticize Yasuke as a choice, they did not criticize Connor as a choice because he fit the theme of the game and the setting much more appropriately than Yasuke. But let's go a little further into this video.
So you would want Connor
But as I said, this is his best point, and his best point just sucks,
to
so...
be white instead?
Yes, that would be more historically accurate.
But there were a few Native Americans who fought on both sides.
That's just obvious pandering.
Well, Assassin's Creed...
Okay, so he thinks it's obvious pandering that I guess Connor is the choice for Assassin's Creed 3, and that's how Asmongold fans would view this in the year 2025 if it was released now. It's absolutely crazy. I'm going to make this very clear. If we're going to talk about pandering, I'm going to give you the honest answer. Yes, I think having an African represent feudal Japan with gay romance options available to him is much more pandering than having Connor, a Native American, be the protagonist of a game in the setting of the American Revolution.
Who disagrees with this point? What normal human being disagrees with the point that Rev just made? Honestly, acolytes, I just don't know. Yeah.
Yes, I think Yasuke is more
he's just
pandering
correct.
than Connor. I don't think that's a controversial thing to say if we're being a bit honest here.
Creed has never been historically accurate. It's been more so historically inspired.
So now he says Assassin's Creed's never been about being historically accurate. It's about being historically inspired. Well, there's one very big issue with this claim, and it's the fact that, as most of you already know, Assassin's Creed Shadows was marketed as being historically
Correctly,
accurate.
yes.
They're trying to be as authentic as
Yes.
possible. This was the big...
And they made some Chinese stuff in Japan. It's... No, I'm not gonna go off on this one. This is fine.
crux of their marketing campaign for most of 2024 and in 2025 as well. And they would flip-flop on this sometimes and say, hey, we don't want 100% accuracy. We want to be as close as possible with some creative liberties. And then they would back down from that and go back to being as authentic as possible and all these things.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, they focused heavily on historical accuracy for the marketing of this game. And in particular with Yasuke, in order for him to work at a foundational level for this franchise, they had to have a major historical inaccuracy. You couldn't make him the protagonist or co-protagonist of Shadows if he was a retainer. It wouldn't have made any sense. If that was historically accurate, Yasuke wouldn't make sense. So instead, they have this major inaccuracy by calling him a samurai. So therefore, he actually makes sense as a protagonist in an Assassin's Creed game.
Yes.
Now, he should have been a retainer in the game and a cool side character. I think that would have been great. But they had to rely on historical inaccuracies to make him a co-protagonist.
I mean, for F's sake, the inspiration for Yasuke, the one that we got in AC Shadows, was a fetish writer. For F's sake. This is just incredibly... How the F is this even a question? I mean, as I said, Yasuke was a historical figure, a side character. Fair enough. But something like this, what they did with him, no. That's bollocks. That's the freaking fetish side talking about from... okay.
While, of course, promoting this game as historically accurate. I think it's a bunch of garbage. And then you have this whole claim about historical inspiration. Yes, they were very inspired with Yasuke, not just making him a samurai, but also having these crazy events where he's killing historical characters from Japanese history that he didn't in real life. And then you have other situations like where he's labeled as Oda Nobunaga's second, which is not true. And also there is a romance option with Nobunaga's sister, which in effect could have changed the entire royal bloodline in real life. It's very, very crazy. And it's even crazier when you think about the historical inspiration of giving him not only gay romance options, but also a option to go bang a non-binary in the forest. Like, that's how historically inspired they were with this game.
He forgot one thing. While looking like he was high as F, because this scene, hey, Yasuke looked high as fuck in this scene. It was so funny.
Totally ridiculous. They're not trying to respect anything. They were, in fact, pandering.
No one complained when Ezio fought the Pope in the Vatican, which obviously did not happen.
Right, but that's not about
right.
Okay. This Ezio comparison is ridiculous. And he tries to use it as a jumping off point about how basically everyone who's got a problem with Yasuke, they're being racist. Now, of course, when Ezio came out in this game and was fighting the Pope, did you see the current Pope at the time come out and condemn the actions contained within the video game? Did you see that happen? No, you didn't. But what you did see with Assassin's Creed Shadows was a lot of people in Japan offended by these representations and cultural, well, I guess, acts of disrespect to the point where the Japanese Prime Minister has condemned aspects of this game in regards to the destruction of the shrines, which, by the way, was significant enough to get day one patched. Okay? So to claim that, you know, these are in any way comparable, again, it's another false equivalency, and it's totally ridiculous. Nobody cared about Connor, for example, when we're talking about race. Nobody cared that Connor was a Native American. They only cared that his character made sense in the setting. And now you're going to see him spin this in a way that tries to portray anyone who has an issue with Yasuke as a racist.
Race? So the only time that we complain about historical inaccuracy is when race is involved.
But-
Or how about when Ubisoft tried to be more historically accurate by giving Altair a Middle Eastern accent in Assassin's Creed Revelations and got criticized for not keeping the American accent from Assassin's
Okay, if someone was mad about that, I think they're stupid. But
Correctly,
who's
yes.
saying that? Like, who are we talking about anymore? Again, shadowboxing arguments that nobody in the scenario has raised and making these crazy comparisons. And like I said, they're using the race of Yasuke as a shield for criticism. They're saying basically if you have an issue with anything going on with Assassin's Creed Shadows, it's about race. Well, the only one making it about race is people like this. They're making it so literally you cannot criticize anything about this game.
Correctly,
because if you
yes.
do, you're a racist. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous. You're trying to ignore the very present issues with Assassin's Creed Shadows and the representation of a real historical figure like Yasuke in a game that was heavily marketed as being historically accurate. That is the issue here.
Correctly. On point. Yes. If they just said it's bullshit from the start, nobody would care. Simple as that. If they just said, yes, this is fanfiction of ours, nobody would care. Just get the F in. Stay on one side. And would be fine. But no. They just have to destroy the freaking franchise. The first Japanese-themed Assassin's Creed. Stick a freaking black guy in it that just doesn't fit the story. And then cry and try to push it out as if it's a good game. No.
Assassin's Creed 1. Seems like there's some double standards going on.
Whatever. I'm gonna go watch more Asmongold. Hey, dude.
Oh, the award for being stunning and brave goes to
Yes.
this guy. Yeah, making fun of Asmongold on TikTok is easy points because that's the way TikTok is. It's very similar to places like Reddit nowadays. And you can see, you have the caption with Asmongold up here, and you can see the top responses. This one, which we focused on earlier, Asmongold is quite possibly the primary source of all toxicity in gaming nowadays.
Yeah,
We ought to
not
do
even
something
close.
about that.
Not
Which, of
even
course,
close.
at the very minimum, he's saying something like deplatforming and censoring Asmongold. But I don't think you're crazy for looking at these words and thinking there's something violent behind it, and that they're implying something much more sinister. And of course, if they had an actual direct thing they wanted to have happen that wasn't that, they would say it. But because they're not saying it, I think there's a reason why they're holding back their words, because they want to imply something that they don't feel comfortable saying, right? But then you look at the replies. This person's saying, are you suggesting we pool money and make a hit? This person says, yes. Expropriate him, comrade. That would be awesome. You might be cooked. Honestly, if someone had him accidentally drink water, he might explode. Oh my god. Another joke about Asmongold drinking water. What's next? A joke about his room being messy?
Yeah.
Wow, how original, dude. But you can see, the top comment gets 10,000 likes. The one saying, let's pool money together and make a hit, getting nearly 500. And this person saying yes to that comment has over 200. That is how normalized this sort of behavior is on social media. And of course, there's more comments
Sadly,
down
yes.
here, of course, saying playing a black person in Japan doesn't make sense. He's the only character we play that actually existed. I'm going to watch more Asmongold. Got me 15,000 likes. Woke is literally a good thing with a
Oh. Oh, okay. We're that far gone, huh?
crying emoji with 7,000 likes. 7,000 likes saying woke is literally a good thing. This person thinks discriminating against people based on the color of their skin is literally a good thing. Welcome to TikTok, ladies and gentlemen. This is the kind of space and the kind of people you will encounter. It's a hellscape. Stay away from TikTok. I'm telling you, you lose brain cells every second you're there. But Asmongold is aware of this, and he briefly responded to this, and he would give his thoughts about these comments, in particular the ones about putting some sort of a hit out on it.
So the game was massively bloated. But no, I did see people are trying to like talk about killing me and stuff like this. The reality is that you wouldn't need to do that if you had better games and you had better arguments. You wouldn't need to resort to violence, threats, intimidation, and lies if you could just simply win in the free marketplace of ideas. But because you can't do that, you have to resort to censoring your competition, threatening them, and making up things that aren't true. It's sad.
I mean, you look at the TikTok itself and the reaction, it encapsulates everything he just said. The TikTok itself doesn't bring an actual argument to anything that Asmongold or his community has said about this game. Instead, it creates hypothetical scenarios and false equivalencies and literally shadow boxes arguments that nobody is making.
Yes, fair enough.
And yet people
Correctly.
will sit there and seal clap in approval of it. And then in the comments, you have people making threats against him and calls to violence against Asmongold. It literally just captured everything he said, and we see this all the time, of course. But one thing that's funny to point out, the same content creator uploaded this same video onto YouTube as a YouTube short. And look at the comments. Completely different reaction. Assassin's Creed 3 was a masterpiece just like the ones before. Brother making false equivalency so hard, he argues the moon is cheese. While Native Americans are still Americans in-game, that happens on North America. All checks out. Ah, yes, the Native Americans famously didn't live in the Americas. They never, they lived in Never Been Land. Things get called woke for a reason, despite what some might try to say. And overall, most of the comments on YouTube are negative. So I guess there's some hope out there for YouTube in this sense.
There is,
But of course, we have to remind ourselves, why are people so mad about what Asmongold said? Well, he called out some historical inaccuracies in some of the issues with Yasuke as a character and how he's represented and how Ubisoft is marketing this game and some of the choices they're making. But at the end of the day, he gave this game a 6 out of 10, which I think is fair. Okay, I think that's a fair review of a game that he clearly didn't enjoy. He quit on it pretty easily. Let's hear what he had to say about the...
I mean, you also have to say the following, that he didn't... If I recall correctly, he didn't play the games before it. So take his word with a grain of salt. Maybe, well, just pull out 1 point, maybe 2 out of it. But at the end of the day, I mean, from what I've seen, it's in the middle of the road at best. So
rating itself.
Still won't buy it.
I am acknowledging not everybody has to have a 7 or a 6 like I do. But it's not a 9.
Definitively not.
It's
no.
not a 10.
No.
And it's not a 1 either.
Correctly,
And I
yes.
think he's right. You know, as much as I like to crap on this game, is it a 1 out of 10? Like, honestly, if you're giving an objective review of the game, even with the controversies in mind, is it really a 1 out of 10? No. Is it a 10 out of 10?
Definitively
no. If
not.
you're giving it a 10 out of 10, you're doing the same thing the person giving it a 1 out of 10 is doing, just in the opposite direction. So he gives it a 6 out of 10, which is pretty fair for this game. I think pretty generous, in fact. And people are still mad to the point of putting bounties and hits on his head over this because he dares to question some aspects of this game. And it's absolutely ridiculous. But that's going to do it for this video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the
Well, fair enough. I mean, he overdone it with the hit thing. He wasn't incorrect, but it was a bit overdone. And at the end of the day, most points just on point, as always. Asmongold, I just can't say that he was wrong about the 6 out of 10 entirely. I think, from what I see, because I won't play it, maybe, okay, I cannot say I will never play it. I probably will play it just to see at some point what a disaster it is. If it maybe costs €5, then maybe. But me personally, from what I see, not mine. But as it is, acolytes, good night.